Om Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotana Satya Srimad Bhagavatam and Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotana Satya Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Samveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Varanga. All glories to Shri Radha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So we're reading this evening from Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 9, Chapter 3, Text 10. Again, that's Canto 9, Chapter 3. Thank you for coming and joining the class. Blessed to have your association. Hare Krishna. So the verse goes, Sukanya Shavanam Prapya Pating Parama Kopanam Vinayam Asachitya Apramattanuvrittibi. Sukanya, the girl named Sukanya, Chavanam, the great sage Chavan Muni, Prapya, after obtaining, Patim, as her husband, Paramakopanam, who was always very angry, Prinayam Asa, she satisfied him, Chittagya, understanding the mind of her husband, Apramata Anuvrittibi, by executing services without being bewildered. Translation: Chavan Muni was very irritable, but since Sukanya had gotten him as her husband, she dealt with him carefully, according to his mood. Knowing his mind, she performed service to him without being bewildered. Purport. This is an indication of the relationship between husband and wife. A great personality like Chavan Muni has the temperament of always wanting to be in a superior position. Such a person cannot submit to anyone. Therefore, Chavan Muni had an irritable temperament. His wife, Sukanya, could understand his attitude, and under the circumstances, she treated him accordingly. If any wife wants to be happy with her husband, She must try to understand her husband's temperament and please him. This is victory for a woman. Even in the dealings of Lord Krishna with his different queens, it has been seen that although the queens were the daughters of great kings, they placed themselves before Lord Krishna as his maidservants. However great a woman may be, she must place herself before her husband in this way. That is to say, she must be ready to carry out her husband's orders and please him in all circumstances. Then her life will be successful. When the wife becomes as irritable as the husband, their life at home is sure to be disturbed or ultimately completely broken. In the modern day, the wife is never submissive, and therefore home life is broken even by slight incidents. Either the wife or the husband may take advantage of the divorce laws. According to the Vedic law, however, there is no, and a woman must be trained to be submissive to the will of her husband. Westerners contend that this is a slave mentality for the wife, but factually it is not. It is the tactic by which a woman can conquer the heart of her husband, however irritable or cruel he may be. In this case, we clearly see that although Chavan Muni was not young, but indeed old enough to be Sukanya's grandfather, and was also very irritable, Sukanya, the beautiful young daughter of a king, submitted herself to her old husband and tried to please him in all respects. Thus she was a faithful and chaste wife. Translation again. Chavan Muni was very irritable, but since Sukanya had gotten him as her husband, she dealt with him carefully, according to his mood. Knowing his mind, she performed service to him without being bewildered. Om Gyaneti Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unhitanena Tasman Shri Guru Upam Karoti Vachalam Hangumangayate Kirim Yat Kripata Mahangvande Shri Guru Dinataranam. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So now let's read the purport again. Srila Prabhupada's purport. This is an indication of the relationship between husband and wife. Now notice here, Srila Prabhupada does not say that this is an indication of the relationship between an irritable husband and his wife. He just says of husband and wife, period. So in other words, I take that to mean that there will always be times, or at least there will sometimes be times when a husband becomes irritable and angry. And the wife needs to learn how to adjust herself to the temperament, the mood and the temperament of the husband. Srila Prabhupada says, a great personality like Chavan Muni has the temperament of always wanting to be in a superior position. Now, isn't that interesting? Because we've been reading in the third canto how all husbands are like that. They all want to be in the superior position. So it's not just Chavan Muni, it's not just an irritable man, but all husbands want to be in a superior position to their wives. Such a person cannot submit to anyone. So isn't that also interesting? Is that a person who wants to be in the superior position cannot submit to anyone. So what we could say about that is that it's quite wonderful and glorious and admirable of our devotee husbands that they are able to humble themselves at the lotus feet of their guru and follow his instructions and obey him and try to serve him. That is a glorious achievement for a soul in a man's body, someone who is not really inclined to submit. That wonderful quality of humility in our husbands, devotee husbands. Okay, therefore, Chavan Muni had an irritable temperament. So irritable temperament, I thought it was very interesting in the word-for-word synonyms how Chavan Muni was called Paramakopanam, means he was always, and Srila Prabhupada says in translation that he was very irritable. So not only was he irritable sometimes, but according to the word-for-word synonyms, he was Paramakopanam. He was always very angry. Now, I had an experience of that one time when I was going through Sadhe Sati. Sadhe Sati is 7 years of suffering under the influence of Saturn, Shani Dev. And there was one period during that 7 years that was very, very hellish. And it was a time when I felt extremely irritable and I was angry a good deal of the time. And I noticed how unhappy I was and how I felt sorry for the people around me, that they had to be subjected to my mood, my unhappy, angry, irritable moods. So it's not pleasant experience for a person to be angry all the time or to be irritable. So we should try to have compassion. And this brings us back to our assignment from this past week, where we had to create a list of people that have hurt us in the past and try to forgive them. We wrote positive affirmations about how we forgive us. So anyway, those are just some thoughts I wanted to share with all of you. His wife, Sukanya, could understand his attitude, and under the circumstances, she treated him accordingly. So that's one of the wonderful benefits of being malleable. Malleable means adjustable. That we can flow, just like two people are dancing, doing ballroom dancing. The man is the leader and the woman is the follower. Wherever he puts his foot, she moves her foot in accordance with his. He doesn't even look at the floor, he follows. So the idea of being a good follower and understanding the workings of our husband's mind and mood and temperament reminds me of ballroom dancing. If any wife wants to be happy with her husband, she must try to understand her husband's temperament and please him. This is victory for a woman. Even in the dealings of Lord Krishna with his different queens, it has been seen that although the queens were the daughters of great kings, they placed themselves before Lord Krishna as his maidservants. So we should never have a bad attitude about being a maidservant, about being a housewife. We should understand that it's actually a very prized position. In the spiritual world, it's especially glorious to be a servant. So that is actually what we're used to. Because we're spiritual personalities, we're used to being servants. I heard Srila Prabhupada say in one lecture that it is, let me just get the quote, I have it right here. Srila Prabhupada said, the natural instinct is to obey some superior person. The natural instinct is to obey some superior person. One more time. The natural instinct is to obey some superior person. And Vedic culture is set up that way, where every soul in a human body has someone superior to him, someone that he obeys and serves. So we're very fortunate that we have a husband that we get to serve and obey. And if we ever have trouble doing that, then we can pray to Krishna and Srimati Radharani to help us be obedient and to help us serve nicely. However great a woman may be, she must place herself before her husband in this way. That is to say, she must be ready to carry out her husband's. Doesn't that remind you of Devahuti? We were just reading recently how Devahuti was not proud at all. She completely gave up pride, even though she was the daughter of a great emperor. She never used, she never had a superior attitude toward Kardama Muni. Never, ever. She always thought of herself as his servant, his maidservant. When the wife becomes as irritable as the husband, their life at home is sure to be disturbed or ultimately completely broken. This brings back the memory of my childhood and how my poor mother did not understand that you're not supposed to become as irritable as your husband. You should control your anger. She didn't know that. And ultimately, it led to my father leaving her, rejecting her. And that's in line, actually, with what Janaki Pandit says, that if there's no mother at home and the wife treats you roughly, then you should go to the forest, because the forest is nicer than a home where there's no mother and the wife does not treat you nicely. So even though Srila Prabhupada says that there's no such thing as divorce, still in our teachings, there's that provision that if a wife is too cruel to her husband, then the husband can leave and he can go to the forest. But if she's very cooperative and speaks sweetly, like Srila Prabhupada said, it is the duty of the wife to speak very nicely to the husband, very kindly. So if she's following her dharma that way, then Srila Prabhupada said there's not even a need for a man to take sannyas. So the onus is on us, or the ball is in our court, you could say. We have the power to make or break our marriage by the way we behave and by our attitude. In the modern day, the wife is never submissive, and therefore home life is broken even by slight incidents. Either the wife or the husband may take advantage of the divorce laws. According to the Vedic law, however, there is no such thing as divorce laws, and a woman must be trained to be submissive to the will of her husband. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to train ourselves, because many of us never learned this until we met Srila Prabhupada and heard his teachings. We never knew about these concepts. So now we're trying to learn them from books like the Srimad Bhagvatam and from each other. Westerners contend that this is a slave mentality for the wife, but factually it is not. It is the tactic by which a woman can conquer the heart of her husband, however irritable or cruel he may be. So when Srila Prabhupada says Westerners contend that this is a slave mentality for the wife, it reminds me of one man than to be the slave of 100 men. So in other words, better to be a religiously married wife than to be a prostitute. Because either way, you're going to be controlled by men. That's just the way men are, and that's the way women are. Men want to be controllers of women, and women want to be sheltered. So in order to achieve that shelter and that security, then the women naturally render service and submit to the man. So now Srila Prabhupada says, in this case, we clearly see that although Chavan Muni was not young, but indeed old enough to be Sukanya's grandfather, was also very irritable. Sukanya, the beautiful young daughter of a king, submitted herself in all respects. Thus, she was a faithful and chaste wife. So many of the concepts are carried from one purport to another. We've heard many of these same types of thoughts in our previous purports that we've read. And does anyone know how Sukanya happened to become the wife of Chavan Muni? Does anyone want to answer that question? How did Sukanya happen to become the wife of Chavan Muni? Can anyone answer? Yes, Kusumangi Radha.
Yes, Hari Bol Mataji.
Hare
My,
Krishna.
my humble obeisances to you. Actually, Shukanya, she was playing along with her friends, and they were in Chavan Muni's big ashrama where she saw that something in the she saw a big tree and something was glistening inside. So she thought it's some insect or some strange creature. So she poked from the holes of the tree inside on that glistening object, and that happened to be Chavan Muni's eyes. So.
Yeah.
Then because of that Chevan Muni got offended, and then and then what happened is, as a reaction, all the soldiers that were accompanying Shukanya's father, who was the king, they were all facing some disease in which their excretion had stopped. All of them could not urinate. So then he understood that some offense had happened, and then while he was asking everyone, Shukanya admitted that she had done something like this. So he immediately understood it must be Chevan Muni, and they had offended him. So then, when he prayed and asked for forgiveness from Chevan Muni, so by his temperament, he could understand that Chevan Muni wanted Shukanya to be married to him. So then he married Shukanya to Chevan Muni. As far as I remember.
Yes. Chavan Muni actually asked King Sharyati if his daughter was married. He was so bold, it's so straightforward that that's how he did it. He just asked the king, "Is your daughter married?" And the king understood. Oh, this Muni, he wants to marry my daughter. So thank you very much. You told that story nicely.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, all glories to Srimad Bhagvatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, who worked so hard to translate these beautiful books for us. Now we will go to the Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood. Okay, so our assignment for today, July 25th, was to read pages 99 through 121. So let's go to page 99. Come on, you have to do what I'm telling you to do. Why aren't you moving? Wonder why it's not moving.
Mataji, you see that box with 1 out of 220?
Yes?
You just type 99 in the place of 1, it will take you there.
Okay, it's not receiving my...
Okay. It might have frozen. You can reopen the same file.
And how do I do that? Go over here to file. Yes, I think it did freeze. So then nothing is working. Okay. Really don't know what to do now.
Mataji, press
Nothing I'm
F5.
clicking on is
Refresh.
clicking. F5?
Yeah, F5. Maybe it will get refreshed and then it will start.
Okay.
On the keyboard. On the keyboard.
Yeah, I did F5. Oh, I see, up at the top. F5. Okay, so now let me try. No, that didn't do it. Let me see over here. No. Okay, any other ideas?
Shall I share it, Mataji, instead of you?
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay, I'll do that.
So let's see. Go to page 99.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay.
Can everybody see?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So you're going to have to scroll for me, Shraddha. So let's see if I can stop you when it's. Okay, stop. Something up a little higher. Can you scroll back up? Okay, stop. Men, okay, see this paragraph? Men want us to be much better than them. They want us to be refined and cheerful and gentle and feminine. Okay? Right, so now, I'm just trying to remember the places that I had highlighted before. Okay, this is nice down here. Angela is apologizing to her husband for having been angry when he called. Okay, so that's nice. She's apologizing. Okay, go ahead and scroll down. Okay, now here, okay, stop. Here's a sentence where Ted is telling Angela, he says, Angie, it's got to be different if I come back. There's been too many hurts. So then Angela is very brave and courageous. She says, tell me what you want. Tell me what upsets you. I won't be offended. Honest, I won't. Please tell me. So then he tells her, well, it's mostly your grouchy mouth. So he doesn't like how she's so irritable. We were just reading about that. The wife becomes as irritable as the husband, then home life can be broken. This is exactly what happened to Ted and Angela. So then he says, I don't think you realize how much it hurts when you say mean things and yelling angry words. It just kills his love for her. Then down below, he asks her to stop smoking. Okay? It makes the whole house horrible. But she was determined to keep on listening to him. She was encouraging him. Come, tell me more. Tell me more. Please let me know everything. So then he complains about her hair. He likes it long and shiny. And now it's short and frizzy. You know I like it long. And you've let yourself get too fat. So, like that. Okay? So she's telling him, I've already given up smoking and I've started exercising again. So that's good. Those are good. And now Ted says, no, there's nothing really that bothers me, nothing else. So I'm not perfect either. I know that. So then, okay. And then down below here, he says, and you could show a bit of appreciation for me now and then. So this is exactly what we've been learning about, is complimenting and appreciating and admiring our husband. So these things are important. Even though we may not feel like we need them, they do. So we need to remember that and practice. By practicing, we become better at it. Okay. All right, so let's scroll down a little farther, maybe go to the next page, see what we can find there. Okay, so Helena tells her experience during the week. She presented him with a rod of authority, which he liked very much, and he held it for a long time. Okay, so that gave Angela an idea what she could do for Ted. So then she told, later she tells her son David to please make a scepter. A scepter is like a backward sword. It's got a handle and like a decorative cluster at the top, and it's for a king to hold. Okay, so let's see what. Millions and millions of marriages all over the world fail because women don't know these laws. Nearly all these broken marriages could be saved and made happy again. Even after years of divorce, it happens. I've seen it happen. Please live these 4 secrets. Okay, so the 4 secrets are, if you don't know them yet, you can find them on page 88. The 4 secrets are summarized on page 88. So practice them yourself and let other women know about them. Okay. That's a nice little analogy. She says, by practicing fascinating womanhood, it's like planting an apple seed. One tiny seed can produce a huge tree that produces bucketfuls and bucketfuls of apples year after year after year. So that's what fascinating womanhood is like. You put some practice into it, you put your effort into it, and then Krishna sees your desire to be a good wife, and he empowers you and makes your marriage more and more blissful and harmonious and peaceful. Okay, so now she's talking about secret number 5. Secret number 5 is like secret number 1. It lays the foundation for all the secrets that follow. It is the most important of the 6 remaining secrets. This secret teaches us how to create within ourselves 2 spiritual qualities, qualities that men deeply admire in women. All great women who have inspired men to noble deeds over the centuries have had these 2 qualities. Mumtaz, whom you remember we spoke about in secret number 1, had these qualities. Queen Victoria of England also had these qualities. Her husband, Prince Albert, died when she was only 42, leaving her with 9 children. However, because of these 2 qualities in her character, this warm-hearted and lively woman rose above this setback and so inspired the good men around her that the British Empire reached its largest expansion and greatest height of power under her reign. When you possess these 2 qualities and live all the other laws of fascinating womanhood, the love and devotion of your husband will know no bounds. He will even worship you. Of course, we don't want to be worshipped by our husband. That's a very awkward position to be in. We want our husband to worship his guru and Krishna. But, you know, this is just I guess you could say a side benefit of following the principles of fascinating womanhood, is that our husband becomes so happy and so appreciative that he wants to show his gratitude by being nice to us. Which reminds me, who has made a love booklet? Has anybody made a love booklet yet? Good, Nidhi. Thank you for making your love booklet. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, we have.
Very good. Very good. I haven't been checking on everybody to see if you all did your homework. because we're on the honor system in this class, due to the fact that this is beneficial for us. Haribol Shileka, good. So due to the fact that this is beneficial for us and for our husbands and for our children and for everyone we know, we're on our honor to do the homework assignments, okay? All right, so now let's scroll down a little bit. Okay. Okay. Oh, this is a good section. Scroll up just an inch. A little more. A little more. Up. Yes. How we lose our serenity. In Fascinating Womanhood, Helen Andelin calls it, what is that phrase she uses? I forget, but anyway, this man who wrote this book, he calls it serenity. First, let's understand what causes us to lose our serenity. Most of us had serenity as little children growing up. That's what made us so delightful to our fathers. Why then do we tend to lose this as we get older? So then Elsie, the elderly lady, she spoke up. She said, I think as we grow up, we lose our childlike humility. When we stop listening to our conscience and start doing wrong things. Yeah, that's a nice point. Because if you're doing something, if you did something that was wrong, then it bothers your conscience. And then you can't be serene. You can't be peaceful. So we should always do the right thing, as Harmony says. And then Bev added, we lose respect for ourselves by not being able to control our weaknesses, like overeating. Overeating is the hardest thing. According to the Shastra, the tongue is the most voracious and difficult to control of all the senses. And so learning how to stop overeating is a big deal for most people. But we need to learn how to control these vices, these weaknesses, and become in charge of our senses instead of our senses being in charge of us. Yeah. Angela says we give into anger and yell at our parents as teenagers. At least I did this to my mom. So yeah. There's so many things that we've done wrong. We've made so many mistakes. And that's what this week's homework assignment was all about. Going over those memories and essentially apologizing for the mistakes that we've made, and then forgiving ourselves. First, we forgive others who have offended us, and then we forgive ourselves for offending others. So that was a very healthy homework assignment. Actually, I'm still working on mine. I made long lists, but I didn't come to the end of them yet. So I'm thinking that this homework assignment is going to go on and on for a long time. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit more, Shraddha. Okay, stop just now. So, Marina says, I believe that unconditional love for other people is the main lesson we are here to on earth to learn. A religious lawyer once asked Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? Jesus gave him a clear answer. Can you remember what he said? And Marina said, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with thy whole soul and with thy whole mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments depend all the law. So isn't that interesting that in Christianity, this woman who wrote this book was written by a man, but Helen Andelin, who wrote Fascinating Womanhood, was a Christian. And this is exactly the same as our first and foremost goal as devotees, to learn to love Krishna with all our heart. So that's very nice. Very nice that we're in agreement on that. But they don't understand, Christians and many other people of different faiths don't understand that it's not just human beings that we should love and be respectful to, it's other creatures as well. And Prabhupada says that every creature, every soul, that every embodied soul has the right to live and to be provided for. So we have no right to kill another living entity, not even an ant. Prabhupada said. He said it so many times, not even an ant. So we should be very, very careful and respectful toward other creatures. Okay, I keep trying to scroll and you're the scroller. Okay, let's see, the lawyer asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? Oh, okay, so you can scroll down a little farther. How to make good choices, the power of negative emotions. Okay. Okay. Okay, stop. Oh boy, this is a good one. This is a good rule. We must stop blaming other people or circumstances for our problems. Actually, our problems are our own doing. And we should always remember that because we're trying to be devotees, Krishna has minimized, he has reduced our sufferings. So we should always be grateful to Krishna that he has reduced our sufferings and pray to him to help us see how we are the ones that have brought about our own suffering. Okay. Now Harmony is going to tell how to do the homework assignment, how to do the forgiveness exercise. First, find a pad of paper or some sheets of paper and a pen. Now, personally, because I write slowly, but I type very fast, I decided to just type it on the computer. So I did that. That's where my lists are. You can do it however you like. So, of course, before we undertake any kind of purificatory process, we should pray to Krishna to empower us and bless us with the ability to be successful. And who can answer this? How should we pray when we go to pray to Krishna or to Ram or to any deity? What should we do first? What's the first step when we pray? Who can answer?
Maybe Mataji, I can try. The first step is to glorify the Supreme Lord.
That's right. Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so yes, we should always say a prayer of glorification when we first start to pray. And then we've been studying about positive affirmations. So positively affirming. Srila Prabhupada was expert at this. One time he sat down on a park bench in New York, and a gentleman sat down next to Srila Prabhupada, and he was asking him about himself and, you know, what is he about and what is he doing in New York? And Srila Prabhupada told him that I have so many centers, so many temples all over the world, and so many followers. And actually, it was a future vision that he had, but he said it as if it was currently true. So we can do that also. And even in the Ramayana, there was an incident like this where Lakshman was going to chastise Sugriv because Sugriv had been lazy and had forgotten that he promised after the Chaturmasya to go and find Sita Devi. So Lakshman was very angry that the rainy season was already finished, and here was Ram sitting in the cave waiting for Sugriv to remember his promise. So Lakshman went storming into Kishkinda, and while he was walking, he was going over in his mind the words he was going to say. So he was visualizing the scene that was going to take place. So this is a bona fide process that we've been studying this week. How to clearly and concisely visualize something that you want to see happen, how to put it in words, and how to offer it to Krishna as a prayer. Okay, so let's scroll down a little farther now. Okay, stop. You must forgive him. This is so necessary. Oh, okay. She's saying, if you have been sexually abused by a man, you will probably find it extremely difficult to forgive him. But you must forgive him. This is so necessary. You will never find serenity until you do. It might help to realize that most men who sexually abuse women have themselves been abused in some way as innocent children. An emotionally healthy man generally has no desire to sexually abuse a woman. Okay? So that was an important paragraph to highlight. So when you're forgiving a person, you're not letting him off free, but you're leaving him in Krishna's hands so that Krishna can teach that soul the proper behavior for a human being. Okay? Now we can scroll down farther. Let's see what this says. An effective way to pray. Let's talk a little about prayer. Prayer is an important part of attaining serenity and goodness. I don't want to interfere with your personal beliefs, but I have found the most effective way for me to pray is to be alone and to speak aloud so that I can hear the words I pray. I also use my own words as if I'm talking to somebody I love here on earth. This reminds me, just recently, one of our Power of Inspiration group members asked a question, and I got sidetracked and I didn't end up being able to answer her question. I can't even remember who it was who asked it, but somebody had said, when we pray, can we just pray silently? And can we just make up the words ourselves like that? So the answer is yes, yes. Of course you can pray silently, and you can also pray out loud. And you can pray the prayers of the great devotees, like the prayers in the songbook, all the songs that were written by Narottama Das Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Those are all prayers. We can pray those prayers. We can also make up our own prayers. So yes, to all of the above. And thank you for your good question. I'm sorry it took me so long to answer you. Okay, stop. Go back up a teeny bit. Okay, Krishna loves us greatly and is always able to answer our sincere prayers. Once we have cleared out all our guilt and anger and resentment and lack of forgiveness in our hearts. So just imagine how pleasing that will be to Lord Krishna when we're able to clear all the hatred and anger and resentment and guilt from our hearts, and then go to him with sincere supplication and ask for whatever it is we want, including how we can serve other Vaishnavas. Krishna will empower us. Okay. Okay, let's see what time it is. It's 8:05. Stage 2. Okay, this was a really good one for me. How to permanently rid your mind of guilt for hurts you have caused others. I personally have made a lot of mistakes in my life and feel chronically guilty about so many things. And so this is a really good exercise for me. And I'm sure many of you
Hare Krishna, Palini Mataji, are you there? Just wait for Mataji to join back. Ruchi Mataji, you raised your hand. You wanted something?
No, Mataji, it was by mistake. I'm sorry.
No problem.
technical issue. So okay, let's see. We were going to page 121. All right, so we have just a few more pages. Stage 2. Relieve yourself of guilt. Okay. And then, of course, there may be people who have already passed away that you were unkind toward. So then it's up to Krishna to take care of, that. although it may be possible that someone has reincarnated and is now in your life again. So, but how can you even know that? So better to be kind, respectful toward everyone, and always think of everybody as Krishna's eternal servant and try to treat them in that way. Okay, let's scroll down a little farther now. Okay, stage 3. What's this one? Stage 3, how to reprogram your mind. So this is all about positive affirmations. And this is really good because it's a nice, upbeat, positive way to train your mind. What I like to do is something we learned many years ago in business is that you ask yourself 2 questions. One question is, if I were going to leave my body in 6 months, what are 10 things that I would like to achieve before I leave my body? And then you make a list. Then on another piece of paper or on the other side of that same piece of paper, you write, if money were not an impediment, what are 10 things I would try to achieve in my life? So then you write that list. And then you compare the 2 lists. Okay, these are the things that I would do if I was going to leave my body really soon. These are the things that I would do if I had all the money I need to achieve them. And then you look at both lists and you compare. And whatever points are in both lists, then you make a separate list. And these are the things that are the most important to you. So these things on the 3rd list are the things that you can first glorify Krishna, and you can say, my dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please help me to achieve this thing. And then number 2, my dear Lord Krishna, I see that you help me achieve this thing. And then number 3, my dear Lord Krishna, thank you for helping me achieve this thing. And then you write positive outcomes. The positive outcomes is what Harmony is referring to in this section about emotional goals. Emotional goals means that your emotions are behind it. Because the subconscious, when the subconscious hears a goal, if there's emotion behind it, like if you feel excited about it and convinced and determined, then it goes into the subconscious more strongly and it becomes manifest more easily. So these are all things that are taught in books like As a Man Thinketh. So many books teach these principles. So, okay, I hope everybody got finished with their reading this week and at least started your exercises. Okay, and I want you all to know that I am still working on my homework from last week, but I'm making good progress on it. Okay, so now the homework for August 1st, I'm going to figure out the verse and purport that we're going to work on next week later, and I'll let you know later. But for now, you can jot this down that your homework for next week, August 1st, is to read chapter 9, pages 122 to 139. Again, please read chapter 9, pages 122 to 139. And the assignments for next Saturday are on pages 137 and 138. Okay? Assignments are on pages 137 and 138. If anybody has a quick question they would like to ask before we close, we have just a very short time. But if anybody has a pressing question, a burning question, please feel free to speak up. And if no one has any questions now, then please post it on the Power of Inspiration group. If anyone here is not a part of the Power of Inspiration group, please let me know, and I can add you to the group. Okay? Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Ma, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji.
Pranam
Dandavat
Mataji,
pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Pranam to all the Vaishnavas. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Hare